You might be thinking, when am I going to begin to change my boundaries? For 3 classes now, we have focused on understanding what our boundaries are, where they come from, and why we don't change them very easily. But in this class, you can finally begin to understand healthy boundaries. I encourage you to think about how you're going to bring these about in your life. So I'm going to introduce you to 10 laws of healthy boundaries in the book Boundaries by Cloud and Talisman. You can find a summary of these laws in your handout, and I'm going to explain each one in a little bit of detail. It can get a bit long, so just pause and take a break when you need to. But knowing these healthy boundaries will help you become aware of the unhealthy ones that you're practicing. Law number 1, the law of sowing and reaping. Cause and effect is a basic law of life. What's the consequence of eating healthy? What's the consequence of getting little sleep every day? What's the consequence of saving money? What's the consequence of smoking? The law of sowing and reaping simply means that there are consequences, good and bad, for just about everything. Unhealthy boundaries tries to avoid the consequences of one's actions by putting them on others or by taking someone else's consequences repeatedly. Law number 2, the law of responsibility. When boundaries of responsibility are confused, problems begin to arise. To quote the authors of the book, Boundaries, we are to love one another, not be one another. This law is about being responsible to and not for others. It is not good to rescue others from the consequences of their negative actions, as you will only need to do it again and again because you have reinforced then a pattern that you're always going to save them. We need to take responsibility for ourselves and for our actions and stop blaming people and expect them to do things for us, which we can do for ourselves. We are responsible for our own personal growth, our choices, and daily living. Law number 3, power. Know what you have power over and what you do not have power over. For example, the weather. We have no control if it rains, but we can choose how we deal with it. We can dress appropriately and carry an umbrella. Your boundaries also help define what you do not have power over. Check out your handout to show you 6 things you have power over. I have shared 6 things you have power to do. Now take the time to go to your handout and write 4 more so that you can have 10 things that you have power over. Law number 4, respect. We need not to judge, but to respect others' boundaries, even if they don't respect our boundaries right away. Not everyone is going to value what you value. Not everyone is going to choose what you want to choose. The more we respect others, and when they say no, the more we model healthy boundaries. We need to respect others' boundaries in order to command respect for our own. Law number 5, motivation. Always be aware of what your motives are and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I afraid? Many times we do things to be liked, loved, accepted, for approval, etc. These are wrong reasons for doing something. Here are some false motives that could exist behind our actions, which leads to having poor boundaries. Fear of loss of love or abandonment. Are you saying yes to someone even though you don't want to because you're afraid to lose them? Fear of other people's anger. Fear of loneliness. Fear of losing the good inside of us. Love doesn't always mean saying yes. You're not a bad person for setting limits with someone you love. Guilt, payback, approval or disapproval, over-identification with another one's loss, or maybe trauma bonding. So get inside your motives on why you are doing something, and that could be the start to change how you respond. Law number 6, evaluate. Learn to evaluate possible outcomes. This is where you distinguish hurt versus harm. For example, exercise. It may hurt a little, and too much exercise can harm you. Things may hurt us initially in changing, but if they don't harm us, it's okay. Ask yourself when dealing with others or yourself, is this a helpful hurt or a harmful situation? Another example is love versus lust. Are you going to enter into a relationship with someone because you're simply attracted to them, but then they treat you like crap? Or are you going to take the time to get to know someone and be with them because they treat you well? Determine what the outcome of a situation will be before you go into it. It's the wise thing to do. This is the prevention of poor boundaries. Law number 7, proactivity. Proactive people show you what they love, what they want, what they propose, and what they stand for, not just what they're against. Proactive people are very different from reactive people who are known by what they hate, what they don't like, what they don't stand against, and what they will not do. The goal is to be proactive, take action, and control over your life instead of just reacting to situations. what you stand for, not just against. Law number 8, envy. Envy defines good that I don't possess. If we focus on what we don't have, we are not being responsible for what we do have. Envy should be a sign that you are lacking something. Envy is fear-based. The problem with envy is that we focus outside of our own boundaries and onto others. When we focus on others' accomplishments, then we neglect our own responsibilities and our own journey. We need to be aware of what it is we're lacking and take action to fulfill that need in a positive way. The antidote for envy is gratitude, which leads to satisfaction and thus avoids comparison. Law number 9, activity. Humans are made to respond and initiate. When we don't, we are going against nature. When a baby bird is ready to hatch, if you break the egg for the bird, it will die. The bird must peck its own way out of the egg into the world. This activity strengthens the bird, allowing it to function in the outside world. Robbed of this responsibility, it will die. Boundary problems arise when we lack initiative and the ability to propel ourselves into life. Law number 10, exposure. Boundaries need to be made visible to others. They need to see them. They need to hear them. You need to be clear with boundaries because people can't read your mind. Due to unexpressed boundaries, relationships will suffer. If your partner doesn't know what is bothering you or how to meet your needs, the communication and patience is going to break down. Having good communication, which is a balance of listening and speaking, being clear about our needs and expectations, and understanding others well. So make sure your boundaries are exposed by making them clear verbally. Take a look at the chart again, which summarizes the 10 boundary laws, and check off the ones that you are strongest at and circle the ones that you need to work on. Remember that even the ones where you're strong in one area, you still have room to grow in it. Stay tuned for the next class, which are going to get you practicing those healthy boundaries.